because of Goku's progression to higher levels of Kaioken in addition to eventually attaining the Super Saiyan transformation along with Vegeta's insane Zenkai boost combined with Piccolo's fusion with Nail, it's natural to overlook how much more powerful Gohan got on Namek relative to what he was in the Saiyan saga. And this is because the narrative was executed in such a way that he was never the main muscle, and for the earlier parts of the Namek arc, Gohan and Krillin had to avoid battles as much as possible. But what if I told you that without Super Saiyan, without intentional Zenkai hacking, and without fusion, that Gohan got over 1,000 times stronger on Namek compared to what he was previously? Yes, you heard that correctly. Gohan got over 1,000 times stronger on Planet Namek in comparison to what he was in the Saiyan arc. In fact, this video will prove to you without a shadow of a doubt that a 1,000 times estimate is actually lowballing Gohan's display of power on Namek. Now the problem begins with Gohan's iconic Rage Boost. Attempting to even quantify how much stronger Gohan gets with Rage Boost is an impossible task because there's no linear multipliers or formulas to make logic out of it. Simply put, Gohan gets a massive boost in power, but by how much? Well, the answer is that it actually varies. Now we all know that power levels have been rendered useless as Dragon Ball history constantly reminded us of why we should put little stock into them. But let's have fun with two theoretical samples. A quick sample would be to look at Gohan's first Rage Boost. He went all the way to a power level of 1307, briefly surpassing Raditz. When Gohan's emotions cooled down, he went back to a 1. Because Gohan was a child with no training, this would put him lower than the farmer with the shotgun as he had no fighting experience, but he did in fact get over a 1300 times boost in power. Now as a post-edit, let's also point out the fact that Gohan survived being knocked away by Raditz. Now this might seem like a minor detail, but when you consider the fact that Raditz has a power level of 1200, this is very impressive for a Gohan to survive this with absolutely no training. But the more important Rage Boost would be the one where Gohan briefly faced off against Nappa, since the battle with the Saiyans was the last major fight that Gohan had prior to traveling to Namek. Now when Nappa initially scanned Piccolo, Krillin, and Gohan, they had a standing power level of 981, 1083, and 1220 respectively. And by standing power level, we mean this is what their power level was scanned at without powering up or firing any powerful energy blasts. And later on, after Piccolo died sacrificing his life for Gohan, Gohan got enraged and his power level bumped up to a 2800, granting him a Rage Boost that nearly tripled his power. Now of course, after the battle on Earth, Gohan received a theoretical Zenkai boost. To elaborate further, a theoretical Zenkai boost is a boost that should theoretically power a Saiyan up, but it isn't confirmed by either the show or manga that they definitively got more powerful. Because at the particular point in time where Gohan was recovering in the hospital, the concept of the Zenkai did not exist yet because Vegeta hadn't yet established the lore of it in the series. And even after Vegeta recovered from the rejuvenation chamber on Planet 79, there was still no mention that Vegeta had actually in fact gotten stronger until he arrived on Planet Namek. So it was imperative of us to take note of how strong Gohan was in the Saiyan arc so that we would have a solid starting point for what Gohan was and what he would be later on Planet Namek. Now right after arriving on Planet Namek, Gohan was briefly scanned at a power level of 1500 by Zarbon as he and Krillin powered up briefly to defeat the Frieza scouts, even though he and Krillin clearly didn't have to go all out to defeat such weak opponents. Moving on, if we were to guesstimate his Rage Boost against Dodoria, this would be tricky because later on, Gohan's fighting power level after meeting Guru was estimated to be around 10,000 as mentioned by Jace when they were fighting against Guldo. Now Krillin isn't known for having Rage Boost, so his power was relative to Gohan's, and prior to Krillin getting his energy unlocked by Guru, he also managed to get a hit in on Dodoria when he was off guard. So it's reasonable to guesstimate Gohan being around 5 to 10,000 earlier when he struck Dodoria in a brief spike of power with a Rage Boost. Now remember, when Vegeta first felt Gohan's power after Guru unlocked his potential, he initially thought that Gohan was actually Goku, which illustrates the insanity of how Gohan's power fluctuates since Vegeta fought Goku on Earth, and for him to think that Gohan was Goku says a lot. And considering the fact that Vegeta is aware that Saiyans would get Zenkai boosts, he would have expected even more out of Goku. But in truth, this in Vegeta's mind could have been a Goku without fully powering up as Vegeta was fully aware by this point how Earthlings could manipulate their power levels during battle, and Goku could have easily have been suppressing himself, so this still makes sense. So at the specific point of fighting the Ginyu Force, Gohan was already 10 times his standing power level was initially scanned at the beginning of the Saiyan arc. But trust me, this goes even further beyond. Now the Daisenju 7 states that Gohan's power level was 14,000 during the battle against Recoome, and the anime version of episode 65 states that Gohan was approximately 20,000 when he powered up a Masenko against Recoome. As we said prior, power levels are useless in the grand scheme of things, but it's important to note that this means Gohan got approximately 20 times stronger by this point, and was already almost as powerful as Zarbon and Dodoria, and he had also surpassed Vegeta's initial power level when he had arrived on Earth. But this continues to go further beyond, because after Gohan got his neck snapped by Recoome, he would have received a theoretical Zenkai boost, as it wasn't directly acknowledged that he had gotten stronger, but the concept of a Zenkai boost was firmly established by this point on Planet Namek, and if you don't think getting your neck snapped and being totally unresponsive should warrant a Zenkai boost, then there's nothing we can do to convince you. Now in truth, Gohan should have far superseded his on-screen performance of needing to team up with Krillin to beat Ginyu in Goku's body, who was scanned at a power level of 23,000, which would have put him around the same power level as Dodoria and Zarbon prior to powering up into his monster form. Before Goku arrived, Recoome was handing out L's left and right. Vegeta's beatdown by Recoome was nowhere near the sheer brutality that was inflicted upon Gohan, and after this, the Zenkai boost that Vegeta received allowed him to fight head-to-head with Frieza's first form directly, who had a power level of 530,000. Logically speaking, Gohan should have had a standing power level near Ginyu in his previous body at the bare minimum after this Zenkai boost, but there is one key reason why this doesn't matter in hindsight. This is because Gohan's rage boost continued to push him further beyond on Planet Namek. Now at the point where Frieza appeared following the nullification of the Dragon Balls, power levels were no longer mentioned up until the point when Trunks arrived and was scanned at a power level of a 5, suppressing himself when he showed up to encounter Frieza, King Cole, and Frieza's forces. The closest that we got to a direct mention of an exact power level would be when Frieza announced in his second form, his King Cole looking form, that if a scouter was used, that his power level would surpass over 1,000,000. This assumes that Frieza has either been checked at this form at over 1,000,000, or he estimates this based on how much he restricts his power. As a quick reminder, remember that Frieza's forms work backwards in the sense where his true form is actually his final form, and all of the weaker forms are utilized to contain and suppress his energy. Going back, however, all of the famous power levels on Namek and beyond, ranging from the classic 120 million full power 100% final form Frieza versus Super Saiyan Goku at 150 million, were all mentioned in the Daisenju, and all additional power levels were sourced from the V-Jump or weekly Shonen Jump specials like the power levels listed in Cooler's Revenge. Rewinding back to Gohan, we also have a direct instance where a rage boost gave him an immense incalculable power level. In the intermission period between Piccolo fusing with Nail and Frieza powering up into his King Cole form, the anti-Frieza alliance had to fend for themselves. We of course can't say the Dragon Team because Vegeta only teamed up for the classic "the enemy of the enemy is my friend" trope.
Whoa, Mondo cool.
That's right, boys. Mondo cool. But get a good look at it now. Because once I'm through with Frieza, there'll be no need to resuscitate any of you three.
But as you all know, things weren't going very well, especially for Krillin, who was unfortunately on the wrong side of the most Americanized way an alien emperor can taunt someone.
Stay with it, yeehaw! That's it, buckaroo, ride 'em, cowboy!
It's at this moment where Gohan, in typical Gohan-esque fashion, does the most Gohan-ist thing that Gohan can do and gets angry. But this isn't the classic attacking Raditz or Nappa or Vegeta or Dodoria or Recoome kind of Gohan rage boost. No, no, no. Gohan goes straight up to the biggest bully on the bus and directly attacks Frieza, displaying a raw burst of speed and power that took Vegeta by surprise. A Vegeta that had already held off Frieza in his first form and wanted no part of Frieza in his second form, as Frieza himself wanted to save Vegeta for last. But keep in mind that Vegeta was so impressed by Gohan that for a moment he started to think that Gohan may have actually been a Super Saiyan after all. Combine this with Frieza directly stating that Gohan hurt him a little bit and that he was looking forward to returning the pain several fold on Gohan depending on which translation you read, illustrating that Gohan managed to damage a character that had a power level of over 1,000,000. But unfortunately for Gohan, Frieza then proceeds to give him a Zenkai-inducing beatdown, and in typical Gohan fashion, he gets in trouble because he can't maintain his power, and when his power level falls, that's when he starts to lose. But what we can say from this beatdown is that Gohan was still strong enough to survive these attacks, even if Frieza was intentionally holding back for his own amusement. But don't worry, good old Uncle Krillin comes to the rescue with his iconic Destructo Disc and slices part of Frieza's tail off. Now the interesting thing here that fans have wondered is whether or not Krillin could have actually killed Frieza if he didn't slip away. The answer is obviously no, because Frieza can survive with next to no body, but it would have rendered Frieza less capable of fighting with missing limbs. And by the time that Piccolo had arrived, this would have made it even easier to kill him. Now it is important to note that Frieza did regenerate his tail back in lizard-like fashion by transforming later on, but restoring entire limbs is on a completely different level. Now while we don't have an exact measure of how strong Gohan was in his first Rage Boost against Frieza, Krillin managed to buy some time with some crafty maneuvers, and it is at this moment where Dende heals Gohan, granting him a Zenkai boost. Now this is a confirmed Zenkai boost, as Vegeta states that his power shot up compared to what he was before. All of this indirectly tells us that Gohan surpassed what he was previously with the Rage Boost, of course, since that was the last major power level that Vegeta had to compare Gohan to. And this would be proven later on. Now we can fast forward a few events as Piccolo arrives and fights Frieza in his second form, prompting Frieza to once again transform into his third form, known culturally as his Xenomorph state. Now because Piccolo can regenerate, combined with the fact that the anti-Frieza alliance still had Dende at this point, it's easy to overlook the fact that the malice Frieza inflicted on Piccolo was far worse than what he did to Krillin. He literally turned him into Swiss cheese with his death beams as he laughed maniacally, finding his own sadistic humor watching Piccolo suffer. And in typical Gohan style, take a guess what happens. He rages out to come save his master against an even stronger version of Frieza. But this time, instead of a barrage of attacks, he fully powers up a blast coded as a Masenko Ha but not officially named as that, and pins Frieza down. Now this scene is reminiscent of two other scenes that we have witnessed. The first being Gohan getting enraged by Piccolo's death and firing a Masenko Ha at Nappa that forced him to use effort in deflecting it, which hurt his hand in the process. The other is a scene that we would see far into the future where Tien holds back Semi-Perfect Cell with the Kikoho, also known as the Tri-Beam, or as others call it, the Neo Tri-Beam. Now the anime really emphasized how difficult it was for Frieza to deflect this blast as compared to the manga where he bounced it back in a few paddles. The slower cinematic time combined with Frieza's facial expression showed how difficult it was to resist this attack. Keep in mind that Gohan is doing this to a Frieza who was more powerful than a Piccolo without his training weights, and a Frieza who was much stronger than his previous form, where he in fact stated he had surpassed the power level of over 1,000,000. After Frieza pushed the attack back, he had a moment to collect his thoughts and reflect on what had happened. He states that he was shocked by Gohan's power and that he needs to eliminate him and Vegeta because they are growing at such a fast rate. So even if it was a brief moment in time connected to emotion, Gohan easily and definitively touched the 1,000,000 power level range by this point, to say the least, as a lowball. And from what we mentioned earlier about his standing power level in the Saiyan arc, this is clearly a 1,000 times boost. But let's go even further beyond. To put the icing on the cake, in an anime exclusive sequence, we had a moment where Goku was supposedly killed by Frieza in his 100% final form after Frieza slipped past Goku's unnamed Kamehameha, slamming him underground. In the manga, Goku goes back up in a few paddles, but the anime extended this and dramatized this far more. Gohan senses that his father is dead and tries to fulfill his duty in stopping Frieza in an attempt to avenge his father. His plan was to sacrifice himself by buying time for the planet to explode so Frieza would die as well. Now in reality, there is no way Goku died even in the anime, since the Dragon Balls that brought everyone back were the Earth Dragon Balls, and Goku had already been brought back to life by these Earth Dragon Balls, leading to confusion confusion for fans who solely experienced the original Dragon Ball Z anime, because it's easy to misinterpret Goku coming back to life because of the wish. But of course, this couldn't have been possible because, as the rules state, once you make one wish with the Dragon Balls, you can't use that wish again, so those Dragon Balls could not have brought Goku back. And the wish that was used with the Namekian Dragon Balls was to transport everyone off of Planet Namek, so neither of these wishes were connected to Goku. But sadly, even if this was the case where Goku died and this was Gohan's plan to stop Frieza, it wouldn't have worked because Frieza can survive in outer space, and his body is also capable of surviving insane conditions. But going back to the fight, Frieza powers down from his 100% final form to fight Gohan, but he still faces off Gohan in his final form. Now in classic Gohan fashion, once again he has a moment where he rages out and inflicts some damage on Frieza in his suppressed final form. Now understand how impressive this actually is. Vegeta couldn't land a hit on a suppressed final form Frieza, and he was the second strongest character next to Goku. Piccolo managed to get a sneak attack in on Frieza after borrowing Krillin and Gohan's energy, but that was the best he could do against Frieza in this form, and Goku in his Kaioken struggled to fight against a suppressed Frieza. In fact, even though Frieza in his suppressed form was losing against Super Saiyan Goku, he did manage to do at least a little bit of damage on him without even going into his 100% final form, further emphasizing how impressive this is for Gohan to do this. Thinking about this further, Gohan also didn't have Dende to bring him back to full strength, because Dende hadn't healed Gohan since he had fought Frieza in his second form. This means Gohan was battle fatigued from all of the fighting afterwards, and this is a Gohan that gave most of his energy to Piccolo to help out Goku when he was powering up the Spirit Bomb against Frieza. So a battle fatigued Gohan with a rage boost performed better than a fresh Vegeta did, because we have to remember that Vegeta Zenkai hacked himself by having Krillin blast a hole in his chest. Then Dende proceeded to heal him, which gave Vegeta a Zenkai boost great enough that he believed that he had become a Super Saiyan and was strong enough to finally defeat Frieza. Now unfortunately this wasn't the case and Vegeta ended up dying, but health-wise Vegeta was actually in a better position than Gohan, who at least had some level of fatigue at that point from firing that major energy blast against Frieza. And to be specific, these sequences were more exclusive to the anime as opposed to the manga. Now of course this was only a brief moment and it was an anime exclusive scene, but for those who wanted to go overkill with this argument, there you have it. If we include this, Gohan would have inflicted damage against Frieza in his second, third, and his fourth, or shall we say his true form. And even if we exclude his final form, if you still don't believe Gohan's power went into the millions after fighting Frieza in his second and third form, then nothing can convince you. But of all the arguments presented in this video, the strongest of them all would be what Gohan did to Frieza in his third form. And while we will never have official numbers, or we will never be able to calculate what Gohan was without a rage boost, we have to admit that that's a baseless qualifier because Gohan has always been associated with rage boost. The problem with it was that he could never control it, especially earlier on. So with or without raging out, we can say with absolute confidence that Gohan got over 1,000 times stronger on Namek, and that, my friends, is absolutely insane, because the Namek arc took place in a few months. Imagine getting 1,000 times stronger in a few months. Now of course Vegeta got hundreds of times stronger on Planet Namek due to all of the Zenkai hacks, but you have to remember that Vegeta was initially far more powerful than Gohan going to Planet Namek, and while Gohan also benefited from Zenkai hacks, it was his rage boost that really put him over the top. And rage boosts are something that come from within. Rage boosts are Gohan's source of power. And for the longest time in Dragon Ball, rage boosts were something exclusive and mostly associated with Gohan until other characters started doing it more later on. Now by extreme technicalities, Goku's rage boost turned him into a Super Saiyan, and because of this, Goku got approximately 15,000 times stronger on Planet Namek than what he was in the Saiyan arc if we use the classic 150 million Super Saiyan power level compared to what Goku was on Earth prior to going into his Kaioken form. But remember, Goku is an adult with a Super Saiyan form. Gohan was just a little kid who got pissed off, and that enabled him to damage the most powerful entity in the universe at that time in his second, third, and if you want to count it, his fourth form. And that's how Gohan does it, the Gohan way. So with everything said, stay cool and stay safe, my friends.